this is like the drama that, on one hand, I'm dealing with picking out a wedding dress. On the other hand, there are moments where she's so distraught that she's threatening to kill herself on the day that I get married. But yeah, I get a phone call from Sean one day, and he's playing Stevie Wonder's I Just Called to Say I Love You, because that was a hit at the time. And he stops the thing and he says, I just realized I have something to ask you.
Okay.
And I go, what? And he says, will you marry me? And I go, yeah, I thought we already established this. He goes, yeah, but I realized nobody ever asked you if you will marry me.
Sounds good, right?
I do like the
You
song.
like it?
Yeah.
You come through perfectly.
Cool.
I'm here for a reason, I promise. All right,
Really?
so, well, excuse me.
No arguments from me here.
Okay, thank
I
you.
would not be able to do any of this, so.
You're sweet. Yeah, well, I mean, thank God for your story. All right, so, where were we last time?
Okay,
Where did we leave off?
Sean's father had brought a
That's right.
Middle Eastern friend over to
Oh no, I'm
pose.
back in this moment now. Crap.
Yes, it was a very tense moment.
His father brought a Middle Eastern friend. Brought him where?
To our house to do a formal proposal.
So explain that. Why did he need to bring a Middle Eastern friend to do a formal proposal?
Well, he wanted to make sure that he was going to do things our way.
Properly.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I thought was actually a clever thing, a nice thing to do. The
Yeah.
salesman in him, I guess, knew what to do.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't so much like in the Middle Eastern culture doesn't require you to bring a Middle Eastern friend, but he brought his friend over because he wanted his friend to like guide him on what to say, kind of be the go-between on making sure
the
that he did it
moderator.
the right way. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what was his friend like?
His friend, nowhere near as charming as Sean's father. Very basic Middle Eastern man who was no nonsense, which probably was a good thing because the charm that my soon-to-be father-in-law exuded was very interesting to my mother and not so interesting to my father.
Because he's an American man as well.
Yes.
So all of the judgments that you are now aware of American, or not judgments, but just sort of like
Stereotypical
opinions.
Opinions,
Yes.
yeah.
Movies.
It's not even stereotypical.
Brought
I don't
upon.
think. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And the fact that he's that charming probably doesn't help.
Does not help at all. Yes.
Okay, so you had this moderator.
So.
Do you by chance know his name? It's random, but
Oh my gosh, I don't remember his name.
it's not important. It's fine.
I do not. I can see his face, but I do not remember his name. You know, he was a balding man, had the hair around the sides, wore glasses.
Was he aware of the
chubby.
situation?
Yes, he knew exactly what had happened.
So he's probably quite respectful.
Yes.
Very cool. Perfect. Right.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's not making light of the situation at all.
So just so that we're all aware. What is the Middle Eastern tradition? What are the differences? And what are the symbolisms behind each of like the little actions when it comes to this proposal? And we can get, I guess, to marriage itself later, but the proposal, there's a whole ceremony for it?
Well, in a way there is.
Okay.
So the traditional Middle Eastern ceremony would be that, and they did this in part. Actually, they did it. We probably didn't follow through the way we should have. But so the family of the groom will come to the house of the parents of the bride, soon-to-be bride, and the father of the groom.
Move that closer to you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Boom. Just want to hear you. There we go.
The father of the groom
Okay.
asks the father of the bride for her hand in marriage for his son.
Okay.
It's very complicated.
Well, it's not, it doesn't sound, maybe there's more that I don't know yet, but
Yeah,
it's just an odd way of going about it.
it is.
At least to me as an American.
It is, and the bride and the groom are not really saying anything.
You're in the background.
Yeah.
Are you allowed? Is part of the ceremony where are you two sitting during that moment? Are you allowed to sit together? Or?
No, you're not sitting together. No. So he was sitting with his father and the gentleman, and it's interesting because his mom didn't come. Only his father came.
Is it the norm that she would?
Normally, the mother and the father would be there with the mother and the father of the bride, but she didn't come that particular day. They came in subsequent meetings. She did, but in this particular meeting, she did not. I think because they weren't sure how it was going to go, if it was going to be contentious or not.
She's like, I don't want to get stabbed.
She's like, I don't want to be dealing with that. So, and I sat on my family's side of the room.
Are you just like?
I'm just
like a tennis match, right?
Yeah, just letting them talk.
Yeah.
And so Sean's father was very articulate, did a great job, and said, we have two young people who are in love with one another, and I think that we should let them, give this love a chance, and they want to be married, and I would like to ask for your permission for my son Sean to marry your daughter.
Wow.
And my dad even asked questions like, how are they gonna live? What are they gonna do? They're not even out of high school. We were both seniors. We were both graduating that year.
What's the average age of marriage for that culture at this time?
In your 20s.
Middle, beginning, end?
Early to mid 20s, I would say. So still young, but
Still
definitely not. At the time, we're 16 and 18.
So then we must remember, your father is the one that brought this on, at least in a way.
In a way.
In a way.
The problem is he was proving a point.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, his bluff was called. And now it was one of those moments where Sean was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I was kind of going, we've talked about the choices I felt like I had, right? Yeah. My option at home was the only thing that had been talked about was to send me to Iran.
Yeah.
No one had ever come back and said, hey, we're not going to send you to Iran. Not yet. But yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah. So
it's the art of the deal. Sorry. Okay. So then what happens in this conversation?
So Dad goes, well, where are they going to live? What are they going to do? And they're so young. And so Sean's father said, well, I have 8 children. One more isn't going to make a difference. So for a while, they'll come live with us if they can't figure out where they're going to live. And, Sean will get a job, and I don't know if Parisa wants to go to college or not, or she gets a job, whatever, and eventually they'll figure it out. And he talks about his own marriage. He talks about how young they were, and he used to actually hit her parents, Sean's mother's parents, did not want her to marry him. So he used to scale the walls of their house, so it runs in the family, to go see her.
Oh my gosh! That's so interesting.
Isn't that weird?
And I'm assuming Sean knows that story.
Sean knows the story, but his dad didn't know the story about Sean. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's, at least in part, why Sean had that thought. Let me get on the wall.
Possibly.
I wonder.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know.
That's wild.
Yeah. So he talks about that. He says, I used to sneak around and out to see my current wife and look at us. We've been married for so many years. We have 8 children. Look at how it turned out. So why not give this a chance? And that was his. He was much more of a romantic.
That's what I was about to say.
Man than
this is because of that, at least a little bit. This situation is romanticized for him. But it sounds like he and his wife are an example of this kind of thing working out.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've had their challenges through their marriage, like every marriage. But yes.
Of course, but
yeah, they stuck it out.
Oh man, the intricacy of this whole thing is so interesting.
Yeah. So eventually Dad, says, okay, fine. If this is what she wants, then so be it.
So there's a period of him saying no?
Well, it's not that he's saying no. He's just asking all these questions, trying to get everybody else to think. He wants someone else to stand up and go, this is a ridiculous idea. What are you people thinking? But no one is. So...
Which... He's not wrong in a way.
He's absolutely right.
Okay, thank you for saying that.
He's absolutely right.
But it's just funny how these things, it's like the momentum of the situation is taking
It's snowballing. It is full-on snowballing.
And everyone knows it. And everyone's just along for the ride. Mm-hmm. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they go, okay, yes, fine. And Sean's father gets up and gives me a big old hug and says congratulations and let the planning begin. And actually, as part of this discussion, they start talking about, okay, let's make some wedding arrangements, I guess. You know, when do we want to have the wedding, and how do you guys want to do this? And Sean's father goes, so what do you want to do? And my dad goes, I don't know. What do you want to do? And so Sean's father's kind of looking around saying, well, wait a minute. Normally...
You've forgotten the Middle Eastern man.
Well, the Middle Eastern man's standing there listening to all this.
And he's moderating.
He's there to step in when the need comes.
And I'm assuming he did so.
At this point, he does.
Okay, at this point.
Because then he basically says, Sean's father is questioning it, and says, you know, so when the question comes up, which is basically in Middle Eastern culture, the father of the groom, the parents of the groom pay for the wedding. Whereas in Western culture, the parents of the bride pay for the wedding.
Yeah, ours makes way more sense.
I beg to differ.
You know, both of those have always confused me.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. It depends, I think.
For sure.
And then depending on the age of the bride and groom, at some point, they should just pay for their own wedding, if they're old enough. In our case, we didn't have any money, so...
Like, no one does until they get old. Anyways.
No one does at 16 and 18.
Or even when they're 23, no one has the... Yeah, okay. So
the Middle Eastern friend steps in and says, Dr. Eftekhar is right. In the Middle Eastern culture, the family of the groom pay for the wedding.
And this is news to him. It is.
Sean's father is slightly surprised.
Yeah.
Never off his game. Never off his game. The man was a pro.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to talk to my wife. No problem, Parisa. Don't you worry about a thing. We've got it covered. You know. So they go off. They say farewell and they leave. And it is, I don't know if it's at that time or soon after when I'm talking to Sean, because now all of a sudden Sean and I are allowed to talk to each other.
Well, yeah.
You know, so we're allowed to talk, and actually there's an event, and I'm supposed to be going to a party that I'm off being grounded, so there's a party that I'm supposed to be going to.
Okay, so how did that happen? When did you get...
Well, once this happened, then I was allowed to go back to school, and if you remember, I was mentioning how they cheered when I showed up and all that stuff. So I was allowed to go back to school, and I'm allowed to go back to because now all of a sudden, you know, we're betrothed to each other.
I mean, are you telling... Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. When was the first conversation between you and Sean, just you two, and what was that like, and where was it?
It was at school. When I showed up at school.
Okay.
And he asked me if I was okay.
In the hallway?
Yeah, in the hallway.
So you guys don't even have a place where you can go to
No.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is so overwhelming, I bet.
Yeah. No.
Okay, okay.
So it's just are you okay? Is everything okay? How are you handling the situation? I said, fine, you know, is it okay at home? Yeah. Are you out of the room? Yes, I'm out of the room.
Are they feeding you?
Are they feeding you? Yeah. So, and the surprising thing was when I the first thing that I remember was, I guess a few days had passed, and it was another one of those parties for us to go to, and I was going to go to it, and my dad
called. Did you say, I'm just tired, I'm
just not going to go.
I'm just not going to go.
Just stay home. No. This is one of the kids' parties, not the parents' party.
Okay.
I don't think I would ever be allowed to stay home ever again.
Oh my God. Even if you're dying sick, you're like, I'm going.
I'm contagious. Everybody's going to get smallpox. They're all like, you're coming with us no matter what.
And the Indian family next door is just like,
yeah.
What's going on?
What's going on? They didn't kill her.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That was a bad joke. You know.
It's not a wrong, but go on.
Yeah. But what was interesting is I'm gonna go to the party. I think I'm getting ready. It's like, talk about last minute. And Dad calls me from his room, from the bedroom.
Okay.
Says, come here. I'm like, and at this stage in the game, whenever my dad called my name, my heart would sink. Because I just felt like I was eternally in trouble. So I walk in, I'm like, oh, what now? And he says, this party you're going to.
Yeah.
Is Sean going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh God, what's the right answer? I was like, oh, yeah. He says, well, you guys are engaged.
Mm-hmm.
aren't you? And I said, well, yeah. And he says, well, then shouldn't he come to the house and pick you up and take you to the party?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, hot damn, I get to actually get picked up, by my boyfriend/fiance, because I'm thinking that's not even a possibility up until this moment. So I did think that was an interesting moment of acknowledging the relationship. But I also think it was more my dad once again saying, if he's a man, then he needs to step up and be like a man, behave like a man.
Well, I wonder if you were aware that every time, at least since this event occurred, you reiterate what your father said. There is a bleeding vindictiveness to the tone, right? Or not a vindictiveness, but like he's challenging what you think, because it's not like it's not that he's making fun of you, but you child. And it's just like, well, and every time, crap.
He's making a point. He's driving it.
He's not wrong, but he's not right. I
feel like it's two worlds colliding.
That's perfect. Wow. I mean, as complex as this is, it's so simple. The modern American world and the modern / traditional Iranian world. Yeah. Wow.
Very much so.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
And beautiful, by the way.
Well.
Looking back now, I mean, come on. There's a lot of crap to this, but I'm just saying, there's, murals have scenes of death on them, and they can still be beautiful.
And they still be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it's funny. It's only in recent years that I can talk about it lightly.
Really?
It is. However many years this was ago.
That's how affecting it was.
It was.
Wow.
It was. So I did actually, for that, just out of curiosity for everybody, I did call Sean, and he did come and get me, and we went to the park.
Did he have his own car?
No, a cab. Or sometimes he would borrow one of the brother's cars. He didn't have his own car.
Oh, his 7 siblings.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Of the 7 siblings he had. So soon after, there was an engagement party. So there was actually, they went out and purchased an engagement ring, and there was an engagement party, and we had a big celebration, and plans were started for the actual wedding.
Question, I'm sorry again, but there's just so much I want to know about this. The Middle Eastern culture with this parental, engagement ceremony that you went through. Where is the ring? So it's interesting. There is actually a ring.
Yes.
Is it a diamond ring?
Yes.
Even then, always a diamond ring.
Yeah.
Yes. Where is that usually? And was this the same? Because you said this one's afterwards. They go and get it afterwards. Is that normal?
Normally they would have purchased the ring, as part of the proposal. They would have.
Was there a comment on that by your father?
No.
Okay, so he
because
understood.
At this time, it's
just so abnormal.
They're doing their best with what they know.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. I think there was, and at the same time, each individual in this story is trying to be accommodating, because it is something that's completely unusual and out of the ordinary, and nobody really knows what to do with it.
I don't even know what to do with it. You telling me it? Okay. Yeah.
Even at school, I had close friends of mine talk about how I was manipulating the situation just so I could marry an American.
Okay, now this is new information.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Where does that come from?
Well, outside of America, most people want to come to America and want to be an American. If they marry an American, you get American citizenship.
Okay, that's not something that I would naturally know.
Yes.
I might want to assume it, but
No, it is the truth. And so I remember one of my very, very good friends being told that she had made some comment about, I hope her wedding's a black wedding, because all she wants to do is become. And I remember thinking,
a black wedding,
like a black dress, like a mourning of some sort. A horrible event happens to the wedding.
Okay.
Just horrible, and I remember
you're still in high school. That's right.
Devastated, because this was one of my good friends. There was like 3 or 4 girlfriends that we all hung out together, and she was one of the American girlfriend that we had as part of our group.
An American girl.
She was an American girl, And I remember her saying that, and I remember it just crushing me. Think of what I had gone through. Like, who the heck does that to themselves just to be able to marry an American? You know, and she hadn't, and to know me, she knew me much longer than she knew Sean. And we were very close friends. So it really broke my heart that that was the thing that she thought of. That was the reason that had happened.
She definitely sounds a bit jealous.
I don't know about jealousy. I don't know why she would be jealous.
Well, I mean, think about it. It sounds like you guys were the topic of conversation.
A lot of conversation.
So,
yeah.
I mean, being that age, being, you know, in the cliques and all that, it sounds like Sean was an attractive guy.
Attractive to me, perhaps. Yeah. You know, he wasn't like the hunk of the school, you know. So.
But the fact that he was American at least gave him quite a bit of value. Yeah. Okay.
I think it was more maybe the topic and I think the concern was more protectiveness of another American.
Oh,
I think that's what it really was.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. At the end of the day, no matter how close of friends, at least that's how I took it, we were, at the end of the day, he was a fellow American. And that broke my heart. You know, that was a tough one to digest. But then the rest of sorry.
No, you're fine. I remember saying that breaks my heart too. Because...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendships should stand for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
And the other gossip was that she's pregnant through school. So everybody was just waiting to see when I was going to start showing. Which was not the case. That was entertaining.
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah. So sometime after the engagement party, sometime before the wedding itself, and by the way, there was all this stalling that was happening, right? So, you know, dates
By
would
who?
be my parents. So dates would be set, and then
your parents or your dad?
I think both.
Really?
My mom didn't want this to happen.
You have not mentioned your mother this entire time.
Yes, she was the silent. You're right. I haven't talked about it. She was the silent, because at the end of the day in our family unit, my father was the decision maker.
Yes.
So whatever he decided was going to be.
Understood.
So she wasn't supportive of any of this that was happening. But at the end of the day, it was his decision to have laid those ultimatums. Even putting me in the room, you know, that was not necessarily her choice. But he wanted it that way, so she was going to abide by his wishes. So she would come. She even, one day she came into my room, she said, if your father comes over, this is after the engagement and we've agreed, and goes back to what my options was to, the only option I had was to go to Iran, right, if I didn't marry him.
Yeah.
So she comes in the room, she says, we've been talking. If your father comes in and tells you that you don't have to go to Iran, you can stay here and go back to school, you know, well, obviously you're back to school, finish school and whatever, would you not marry Sean? And at this point, I had already decided that, you know, this was the path I was going to take. It's just we were just going down two different paths in my family unit versus me. And it just wasn't going to work. So this was the path. And I was in love with this man, with this boy.
So there's two questions, right? One, I'm getting the sense that you saw this as a way out.
I hate using that phrase because in some ways I know that just would break my parents' heart.
At the time.
But at the time, yes.
Especially, there's a sense of betrayal, I assume, even bringing up the idea of you going back to Iran, to the place where you can't smile.
Yeah.
I mean, that, to me, there's a betrayal.
How could you want to do that to me?
To your daughter.
Yeah.
The other question is, what you just addressed, which is, at the time, I mean, you now see him as a 9.5 foot, 10 foot tall giant. I almost kind of see him that way at the moment. Is immature, childlike, situational, so on and so forth. That these decisions he's made are. It's a little obvious he's trying to be a good man. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said for that. Mm-hmm. And you're there, yeah. So
I'm smitten. Right?
Yeah, I'm smitten.
I'm
like,
coming upstairs. Who says that? you know,
Yeah.
at the moment like that. So yeah, totally.
Wow.
So I'm in love, you know, as much as a 16-year-old can be, you know, not knowing.
Well, at the time, it is what it is.
Love will feed us, you know. That was the viewpoint.
Yeah.
And the biggest question was, what if your father comes in and apologizes? That is enormous.
From your mother?
To me. Apologizes to me.
Explain this. What are you talking about?
So this was the other thing. She said, oh, no, you don't have to go to Iran. And I said, no, I still want to do this. And she says, well, what if he comes in and apologizes?
Your mother is also a woman, so she's empathizing with your position, and she sees the corner you've been forced into, and how it's dictating your emotions and your thoughts.
So she's saying, if he apologizes to you, would you say no to the marriage? For my father to have agreed to come in and say he was sorry, to this day, I don't think I've ever remembered him apologize to anyone for anything. Okay. It was enormous, a huge moment. And I still was like, nope, he doesn't have to apologize.
Because you almost don't want him to, right?
I don't want him to. And at the same time, I said, yeah, I know why he did what he did. It's not, you know, it's not what he did that's in question. It's just we are where we are, and I'm going to move forward with my, you know, with my decision.
Which there are reasons for that as well, right?
Yes, which we were just talking about, very much so.
So does that ever happen?
No. Once I said I'm going to marry him anyway, it did not happen.
So let's say you had said maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have happened?
I'm thinking he was willing to do it.
That's why she asked.
He was so. Oh yeah. Oh, she would have never asked if it hadn't already been discussed with him.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah.
Wow. So because in order for your mother to impose upon your father's decision making in this way with her own opinion, it sounds like she had something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Her interventions, whether you know exactly what they were or not.
The camera just stopped.
This one?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're fine. No, thank you. I'm so fucking focused on you, I didn't even know. How did you stop?
Yeah, I don't know why
Did you do that? Good. Do you remember my question?
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about it. You know, she was distraught over me getting married at such a young age. He was not the choice. You know, he was not what she would have wanted me to marry, you know. It breaks my heart that I broke her heart. Both of them. I broke their hearts, you know.
Looking back now.
Yeah. At the time, I'm basically decided on where I'm going to go with this, and it's more so that I see all of these as attempts to stop me from getting to that point. Yeah. So
So is there an underlying anger at the time?
I would get angry with them. I would get angry with her and him for trying to accept. At the same time, I was going back to what you were saying, which is you started this. Marriage was not on my mind. You're the one who put the idea into my head, his head, everybody's head, you know. So now all of a sudden you're backing away, and there was a bit of anger there.
How could there not be?
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, especially at that age, your options are so limited and controlled, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel all of a sudden through all of that, where you're like, I get to make a decision for myself.
Yeah.
Man. So.
And so one of these days that we're all having these discussions, so there's different emotions that are going through, right? There are moments where we're talking about picking out wedding gowns, and you know.
Who's we?
my mom and me, picking out a wedding dress. Oh, even Dad picking. Well, it's gonna have to be a wedding. There's gonna be a wedding dress.
In that, are there interspersed moments of like kind of excitement? Like
yeah, there's a bit of excitement that we're gonna pick a dress, and then at the same time she's going. I mean, my mom. There were times when she said to me, "On the day of your wedding, I'm going to throw myself from the top floor of the building that you're getting married in, so that your wedding day will be the day I die." This is like the drama that Middle Eastern mothers will bring into, when they're trying to make a point. But yeah, so on one hand, I'm dealing with picking out a wedding dress. On the other hand, there are moments where she's so distraught that she's threatening to kill herself on the day that I get married. Now, I know my mom's not going to kill herself, but it's a heavy weight to put on someone. Yeah.
So at the moment, do you fully 100% know this is just a expression of emotion, or is there a part of you that's wondering?
No, yeah, I never thought that she was actually going to kill herself. Okay. There's no question in my mind that she wasn't going to hurt her. There was no question in my mind that she was not going to hurt herself. But it would still devastate me to hear even the words come out of somebody, to say that to me, that just to even verbalize it would be hurtful.
And in the extent of emotional, I don't want to use the word manipulative, but emotional attempt at control through that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
It's very sweet of you.
I care about you, and especially through all of this and hearing all of your stories, it's just like,
it was
time and again, but this isn't about me. Go on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of all that, so there would be moments of elation. Then in the middle of all that, I get a phone call from Sean one day, and he's playing Stevie Wonder's "I Just Called to Say I Love You" because that was a hit at the time. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he stops the thing.
Whatever, you're like, "Hey, my boy's calling." Hey.
So I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he stops the thing and he says, "I just realized I have something to ask you."
Okay.
And I go, "What?" And he says, "Will you marry me?" And I go, "Yeah, I thought we already established this." He goes, "Yeah, but I realized nobody ever asked you if you will marry me."
Oh, that's American right there.
And
Love
it occurred to me that it was the first moment where I realized nobody had asked me, so he was right. And so that was my proposal, was over the phone with Stevie Wonder singing in the background, which I thought was cute.
That is very cute.
Very romantic, very cute.
Sing the song right now.
No. So I got to take a tequila shot, but I'm not doing that.
Cheers to you. You take that.
Thank you.
I'm going to find that song.
I do love that song. Maybe for that reason.
Mm-hmm. What's it called again?
I Just Called to Say I Love You. I don't know if that's the title. I'm guessing that's what it is.
All right, so go on.
Okay. So I hear through Sean that Sean's dad says, well, if we're going to pay for a wedding, it's going to be a wedding. That's the song.
Keep going.
That just cracks me up. Very cute. So Sean's father decides that it's going to be the wedding of the century according to Abu Dhabi styles, which we have the princess's wedding to follow.
I was just about to say, my weight in gold, sir. I'm not going to say no.
I don't think we're going to match it, but that was his attempt. So
That's kind of cool, though.
It was very cool.
I wanted to hug this guy, whoever this fella is.
I have lost contact with him over the years, but he was I don't know if he's still alive or not. Lovely man. Lovely man. And so they rent out one of the biggest resorts at the time. Now, we are talking in 1980. By now, it's 1985.
1985. Okay.
Yeah. But so now, when I say one of the largest resorts in Abu Dhabi, you cannot compare it to what's in Abu Dhabi and Dubai right now.
Okay.
But this was a hotel called Jebel Ali, which was in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And at the time, it was an impressive location. Nowadays, I'm sure it's pretty old compared to what's around it. So we became the first wedding to be held at Jebel Ali Hotel. And the wedding was a wedding of 500 guests.
What?
500 guests. They invited 250. My parents invited 250. And Sean and I actually probably had like a handful of friends there that we knew. It became like the parents became, they were going to outdo each other on the number of guests and the number of events, and it just went nuts. So it was all out.
Yo. And your daddy don't gotta pay any money for
nothing. He paid. I think we paid for the dress. That was it.
You know what? All of this is just an attempt for him to get a really good wedding for free.
She just wanted a good party. That's all it was.
You know what? I can't hate him for it. I love it.
So a huge dress, long train. Out the door. Limo comes in, gets me, brings me to Jebel Ali, which is a good ride away from Abu Dhabi.
All right.
Show up. The entrance into the reception hall is with waiters holding swords that are flames coming off of them. It's a big to-do. And then it becomes an Iranian party because my mama takes over the music and starts playing Iranian music, and everybody, Iranian or not, starts dancing. So it was a party that went on till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, dancing and partying. And then the next day we had brunch with the majority of the guests that had spent the night there. So the party, the actual event...
Where were they sleeping in the hotel?
It's a hotel, so everybody got
hotel
okay. rooms. It was a huge, huge event. A couple of years later, I found out that the limo that drove me to the hotel just mysteriously caught fire and burnt down, which should have been a sign about the marriage, but... It was interesting. That's just a bit of trivia, totally unrelated. But
wait, what?
Just like we met the chauffeur, like we were out somewhere, me and Sean, after we'd been married for a year or two. And the guy goes, "Hey, I remember you guys. I drove you, for your wedding."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Remember that limo?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "It just suddenly caught fire soon after your wedding. It just burnt." I'm like, "Okay."
Well, it was the flames of your love.
Apparently.
Yes, it was very
heat of the occasion.
So my only question was, did he die? So I'm glad he didn't.
The dude was alive.
That's
and well.
good.
Nobody was hurt. Yes. The only thing from the wedding was that my mom did not. Obviously, she did not hurt herself, which was nice, but she did wear a long, flowing white dress for the first half of the wedding, which was kind of, I think, her way of saying, "I'm still going to get you," a little bit of a zing. Which I thought was an interesting choice, but no harm done, and it was all good.
Do you think your dad could have told her not to if he wanted to?
I don't think he cared enough to say one thing or another. They were not. They were smiling and they were partying and they were dancing, but they were still not happy about the decision.
So and if you don't want to get into it, that's fine. I mean, it's your story here, but during the wedding, I want maybe a synopsis here. Beginning, middle, end. How do you feel? What is your perspective on this?
I was happy through the whole thing. I really was. I mean, I'd become very used to, and not numb, but used to the unhappiness that my parents felt towards the decision and the whole event.
Okay. So
then I just knew that's what I was going to get at the wedding itself.
From them, yes.
Yeah. But I was happy. I had a great time. It was fun. Who doesn't want to... Now, by the time I actually got married, I had just turned 17. So I turned 17 in September. We got married in December. So
Are you drinking during the party?
Yeah. Not a lot of drinking, but yeah. Yeah, I was drinking.
You or just people?
Everybody was drinking.
So people are getting...
Oh, yeah.
So it's a 500-person party.
Yes.
I mean, I'm almost jealous of that. So well, maybe I shouldn't ask that question.
Now I'm afraid to ask what you were going to ask.
I don't know. What I was going to ask was, in the ceremony, you're looking at him. What was that like?
Oh, interesting question you ask. Okay. So there is no traditional wedding ceremony that you're thinking of where we're at the end of an aisle and there's a vow exchange thing that happens. Okay. I'm glad you asked the question.
Yeah.
So we actually got married by law in November. The reception was in
What was the date?
November 20, because we got married married December 15th. Oh my God, I'm getting all my dates mixed up. December 15th, so it was my November 20th or something like that is when we got married.
It's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was we had to go to court, in a courtroom.
That's normal.
In Abu Dhabi, in order for a man to marry, or anybody to marry a Muslim person, they have to convert to Islam. So Sean had to convert to be a Muslim.
So you had to like sacrifice a lamb and stuff?
No, I don't think we sacrificed a lamb, but he had to go. There was no bloodshed that I know of anyway. But he had to go in and had to, like, the dude read parts of the Quran and he had to repeat it. And then he had to get a Muslim name. His name was Muhammad. He'd be changed his name on paper.
Was there a conversation between the two of you where, like, this is what you got to do?
That's what I said. Yeah, I did. I was like, this is what you got to do.
But what did he say?
Like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he didn't care.
But to him, it was more on paper. He
of
just
course.
had to do it on paper.
Oh, he's an American man. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you're beautiful. I'm beautiful. Let's make it happen.
I'm going to do it. So, yeah. So...
Was he... I'm sorry to interrupt you, but was he a religious... Was it either he or his family religious?
They were Catholic by birth, but they were not every Sunday churchgoers.
Roger that. Okay.
Yeah, so it was nobody was really distraught.
He was like, let's just make it happen.
Let's just make this happen.
Whatever. Cool.
So we go, he does the conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to another courtroom and we're sitting there.
Yeah.
And there's another judge dude that's speaking in Arabic to my father. So there's my father, there's Sean, there's me, and Sean's father. And they talk to my dad. Then they talk to Sean. Then they talk to my dad again. And they ask, like, how much did he pay for the bride? Because you have to pay, you remember her weight in gold?
Yeah.
My dad was like, I don't know, $50,000.
What?
Actually, it was not an actual exchange, but it just said on paper, and the guy goes, has it been paid? And my dad goes, yeah, it's been paid.
So this is a potential legal issue. Mm-hmm. Cool. Go on.
Yeah.
Did they pay him money for you?
Well, no, they didn't actually pay money, but yes. So this is that. What I was explaining about the royal wedding is just an elaborate version of what was happening. Yeah. But they didn't actually. I mean, my dad did not actually make them pay money from me, but you have to say that somebody paid this much amount for the bride. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it did not go past me that they were like, okay, you're done. Congratulations, you're married. And I'm thinking, once again, nobody's asked me.
Yeah.
Do you take this man to be your husband? Are you okay with it? No, nothing. I did not say a word. There was no exchange with me and the judge.
And they didn't ask him.
They talked to him.
They do talk to Sean.
They talked to him. They talked to him. They talked to my dad.
This movement you did with your head. Just watching it go by like a tennis match. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Because I was in between, yeah. I literally was. And then we were done. And we all went out to lunch.
Just lunch?
Yeah, we celebrated the day.
I want margaritas and dinner and balloons. So then almost a month later, you have the party.
Yes.
In the culture, is it not done until the party itself happens?
Yes. You're not actually cohabitating until the reception happens.
And is there, after that, I'm talking next day, is there an expectation of a change? Like, are you two living together now? There is that.
You immediately live together. Yes.
In your own place?
Yeah, well, whatever the arrangements might be. In our case, we ended up in our own place. I do want to make one point, though, because everything we were talking about was very much the Arab law.
Yes.
The Iranian culture is different.
Oh, how
and
so?
The celebration is usually there is a ceremony, and it's a very elaborate ceremony. We didn't have an traditional Iranian wedding, where the bride and groom are brought in. There's a whole slew of different items that are laid out on a tablecloth on the floor. Each one has a significance, and then there is even a cloth that's held over the bride and groom's head with cones of sugar that are rubbed across each other, so to put sweetness in their lives as a symbolism.
People are so weird.
It is a very strange. It's just different. I actually love the Iranian.
Well, they all have their weirdness
customs.
to it. I'm just thinking out
No.
loud.
Yeah, it's fine. And the vows are asked of and confirmed by both the bride and the groom.
Are there an established traditional verbatim vow you take?
Yeah.
So you don't come up with your own. You
No.
don't come up. Okay.
Yeah, no, they are. And it's actually cool because they ask the bride, will you take this man to be your husband? But tradition says that she doesn't answer until they ask her 3 times, so that it doesn't go down in history that she was easy.
Heaven forbid.
So she has to hold out until.
Do you look at the wall?
I don't know. I guess you look down because you're bashful. Just look down until they ask you 3 times, and then you quietly, begrudgingly say yes. That would have never worked on me. I would have been like, whatever, yeah. So
you're like, this is exactly what I want.
Yeah. So we didn't have that. But so to your earlier question about the reception, we did have the reception. And after the reception, when the reception's done, then you go and you live together. Now, in our case, Sean's father decided to pay for an apartment for us, a little tiny 1-bedroom, which was very cute, for 1 year. So he said, I'm going to pay your rent for 1 year. You go and live in this apartment. They helped us buy furniture. We got ourselves a little aquarium that we maintained. Yeah, it was really cool. And, we just lived a cute little life that we started together. We had both graduated high school.
During that year.
Yeah. So before we got married, we had already graduated high school.
In what is the? Because every time we do this, there's always one thing. It seems like it's like kind of a check mark at the end of the story for this chapter.
Right.
You're living together. You graduated high school. What is it for this one? I know there's always one.
This one is that when all the fun and celebration, with the tension, was over with.
Yeah.
And the confetti had been swept up and the dress had been hung up, I'm sitting in a apartment with my 19-year-old husband, and I have a job. I have my vision of what marriage is, which is we both get jobs and we both work and we are going to have to make money and figure out what our future is going to be. And he spends his days playing guitar in the bedroom and hanging out with his buddies. And so very, very soon after getting married, reality started sinking in. And my prince, my shining knight in shining armor riding on that white horse, became a 19-year-old boy, who wanted to play guitar. Loved me, but wanted to play guitar and have fun with his buddies. And I would get up every morning, leave him in bed, and go to work.